Hey, it's Matt, your average gamer. For this video, we're going to be covering Recluse. She's a really fun character to play as. She was actually a really good enjoyment in terms of learning her because she takes a bit to learn. We're going to go over the basics for her, everything you need to know, and then a bit of a guide and explain some of the best relics you could use for Recluse in Elden Ring Nightreign. And of course, first things first, you're going to have to learn Recluse, and she is a little bit difficult to learn because you need to be regenning FP constantly. I didn't realize this right away and didn't understand how a regular skill worked, how basically every time you hit an enemy, you need to be consistently regenning your FP. She's going to want to have FP all the time because the minute you run out, unless you have a weapon on hand, you're basically useless. So you want to make sure that your FP is filled all the time. We're going to talk about that throughout the video, of course, and then go over some really great relics to use with her, passives, etc., and how to make her powerful. Curious, by the way, how much are you enjoying Elden Ring Nightreign? I made a review for it. It took a little bit of interest from people that really enjoy the game. For me, the game is just good. It's not really great. I feel like it still needs more in terms of maps and content, etc. I'm hoping they add more to it, and then I will be coming back to it. This is my last of the character guides. I think after this one, I've covered everyone. But overall, Recluse was quite fun because she does take a minute to learn, and she absolutely takes the experience of playing the game for a decent amount of time to get good with her. Alright, so I like casting anything charged because you're going to find a lot of passive for charged sorceries. I do go down here for a minute, and it's going to make them a lot more powerful overall. The other passive is improved sorceries in general. You're going to always want to find that one. That one's excellent for her. You can pretty much easily find that on any staff that you can go in like a fort, etc., and kind of build around it that way. Typically, though, whatever I can find that is charged, I'm going to go with and hold down. Boost those charged sorceries as much as I can. Hopefully I can get the Godfrey icon. If you can, that's even more powerful. And then just spam the bosses and make sure you're regenning FP. I'm going to show that more in a little bit as I was learning the character. It's really important and paramount to playing Recluse that you're always regenning FP with your skill. I did it there because you want to keep that FP bar up as high as possible, because the minute it goes down to even sort of low, it gets really tricky in terms of how to regen FP. We're going to talk about that now and a lot more, and at the end of this video, we'll show off a Nightlord 2 and explain that as well. Alright, so now we are going to really talk about regenning FP. It took me a minute to understand this fully, how it works. So essentially, you want to hit the boss, and then after you hit the boss with any spell. Now, you can go in for a couple of hits with the spell that you have, but you can see here I ran out of FP. This is when I was learning. Typically, though, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to hit the boss once, maybe twice, and then use that skill for the FP regen, because you don't want to wait too long like I did here, and then you end up running out of FP, which becomes a major problem, and then you kind of have to wait to regen it again. If you hit once and then regen every time, you could pretty much keep your FP up constantly. Something that took me a while to learn. Also, every, I think, fourth time you regen FP, you're going to do some kind of elemental damage. This could be really great against bosses and against mobs, but I will say this. Keep in mind when you're going for that fourth one or whatever, it is a longer animation in which you don't have invincibility frames, so sometimes you'll do it at like the worst possible time. In the case where I fought Gaping Jaw in one of these rounds, he ended up actually eating me and getting the full bite in because I was doing some kind of like epic fire thing going on, and I kind of just wanted to regen my FP. Overall, it can be really good though, and it can do a lot of damage. As you can see here, we're consistently casting as much as we can. Now we're getting the hang of it, regenning that FP when we can, when it's possible. You want to make sure you always have it on hand. I would go for one and then regen, because look what happened to me here. I was running out of FP. I wanted to use this as an example because I've seen a lot of players playing as Recluse and then consistently losing the FP that they have because they're not consistently bringing it back. When I was learning, it took me a second to understand this fully. You really have to constantly be using that. Hit once or twice, regen. Hit once, regen. Hit twice, regen, etc. Of course, you could have Starlight Shards on hand as well, which I had and apparently wasn't using in this clip. But yeah, they're great too if you can find them throughout your journey. If your other characters find them, they should really be dropping them to you if you're playing as Recluse. The only other character that should really need them is Revenant. So we're going to continue to talk about this here. I'm going to show a better example here on the Bell-Bearing Hunter. Very, very tough boss. I think I go down once during this clip. That typically happens to me from time to time. Now, overall, Magma Shot, I really, really like. I'm going to go over spells that I like here in a little bit. It leaves an AoE, an area of effect that's awesome, and you can actually find it fairly easily, too, with the staff that boost it, so that's not bad at all. But overall, the amount of damage you're getting for FP is great. Just like Carrion Slicer is kind of that way, too, where it doesn't cost much FP. But with Carrion Slicer, you're going to have to go up close to bosses, which is dangerous for Recluse. She doesn't have a ton of HP. Now, with Magma Shot, obviously, you can hang back, so there's a big bonus there. And I like that style of play for Recluse, rather than something like Carrion Slicer, where you have to be up close and personal with the enemy. Now, you're getting good FP for the amount of damage you're getting with Carrion Slicer as well, but with Magma Shot, you get that from a distance. I just don't like that sometimes the angle on it isn't the best. You typically need to be either near the boss or slightly above them. The way it shoots out, it kind of has like an angle in the way it lands. But other than that, it really is a fantastic spell that you could add to your arsenal and do a lot of damage, a lot of fire damage. And if you get things along the way to boost fire damage, you could buff that up and make it really powerful, especially if you're able to get a purple Gelmar Glintstone staff, get the boost there, and get a lot of damage out of it. As far as the character itself, yeah, she is kind of difficult. So if you're just starting out, I recommend like learning from this guide and understanding that you constantly, as you can see here, I'm doing it more, casting like maybe once or twice, and then going for that regen and bringing it back. Now, you're going to get hit occasionally when you're using that, of course, but you want to make sure your FP stays up as high as possible. Something that it really took me a long time to learn is what I'm trying to say, to make sure that the FP stays in the right position where you're not having just a little bit left and constantly having to wait for that regen. Instead, you want to have it at half to full, and then just get in a hit or two and then regen. There's the special effect there. You saw it with the fire. That's every 4th time. It's pretty awesome to look at. Does a lot of damage as well. It can do a decent amount of damage to the target. After that, you can regen FP easily too. And yeah, it's something to look out for though, because if a boss is about to hit you when you go to do that, you're going to be stuck in that animation for a minute. Anyways, we're regenning again here. We're going to finish off the Bell-Bearing Hunter. We're going to go over spells that I like, relics that I like, and then the ending and Nightlord. Can't wait to jump into that. All right, and now real quick, I want to talk about my 2 favorite spells that I've ran into here, and that is going to be Magma Shot and Stars of Ruin. They both are good in their own ways. Now, Magma Shot, I talked about, has that awesome AoE, does a lot of fire damage. On the other hand, Stars of Ruin is rather costly, so you only want to cast it once. I'll show that one in a little bit. That's going to be your best tracking spell, in my opinion. Of course, you have stuff like Glintstone Stars. That's going to be good, too, when you pick that up, especially early for the cost, again. You don't want to go with stuff like Night Comet. I found not that useful because it's so costly in terms of FP. Now, as you're taking down bosses, I want to make this clear. If you're able to stack a decent amount of reduced FP cost, then you could start to use better spells. If you don't get lucky with that, since it's a lot of RNG, then you should probably stick to the stuff that's good damage, FP ratio type of deal, where you're just constantly able to cast 2 or 3 times, regen, and then go from there. Once again, though, a lot of this was from me learning the character. I'm going to show towards the end where I use it a lot. And yeah, it gets to be a lot to get used to, because you're going to have to hit the target and then regen FP back and then cast again. But for me, a lot of times I found myself in fights trying to get as much damage in right away as possible, and that's not the right way to play. The right way to play would be to cast once or twice, regen, and then rinse and repeat. It really is that simple when it comes to Recluse, because if you don't do that, you're going to run out of FP. She can be a high damage, amazing character. She really can be a very good character once you learn and understand her. But when you're starting out, I imagine she's going to be difficult for a lot of players. There's the ultimate. Now, if players hit the target, they'll regen HP and FP. It's a little bit of a debuff that works for around, like, I don't know, 15 seconds or so. It's pretty solid overall. In a second here, we're going to go over the best relics for Recluse, and then we will go over tough bosses and a Nightlord. And the best relics for Recluse are her Remembrance Relic, of course. Activating Ultimate Art raises max HP. Collecting Affinity Residue activates Terra Magica. Suffer Blood Loss and increase attack power upon Art activation. I'm running all 3 of those currently. Magic Attack Power Up. FP Restoration on successive hits. Increase Rune Acquisition for self and allies. Defeating enemies fills the art gauges faster. Any increase in spells or intelligence or mind. Passives: improve sorceries, improve charge sorceries, improve damage at full HP, reduced FP cost on spells, less likely to be targeted, damage negation up when casting spells, taking damage restores FP, improves spell casting speeds, and of course, any improvements to sorceries, magic damage, or FP. Any of those could really make a powerful character. The first three was what I was running, and they're excellent because she has 3 different abilities that you could use. Of course, you can get that from her Remembrance Relics as well. Now, we're going to talk about tough bosses and Nightlords, how to handle them as Recluse. There's the special effect. It's really cool looking, by the way. I do like that they added that in. It's fairly cool looking. And we're back to using Magma Shot, which is really fun and really awesome to use because it's powerful. But of course, this time we're going to try to make sure that we regen better, do more damage, and then after this we're going to be showing off a Nightlord as well. I know I asked this before, but what are your thoughts on Nightreign currently? Are you enjoying it? How much are you enjoying the game? What character are you playing as currently? And have you learned Recluse yet? Is she your favorite character? Do you have another favorite character in Elden Ring Nightreign? I'm curious. Comment below. Anyways, back to this. Of course, Magma Shot's going to do a lot of damage to these guys, the regular knights. You can see it kind of just stacks up because they're standing in that fire constantly. And then I had some passive that was actually boosting fire damage on top of everything else. You can get passives that boost fire damage, magic damage, and of course the ones we talked about before. You could start to stack up a ton of damage as her. Now, it isn't as potent against the Tree Sentinel, especially since spells he can block to an extent and he uses his shield and heals frequently. But overall, there's the special effect again. You'll get a decent amount of damage from her. Once again, I was running out of FP here a little bit as well because it does get tricky to regen it back. But once you do, she really is one of the best at dishing out damage. And I gotta say, I had fun as playing as her. Like, she was a fun character to learn and play because she was a challenge to learn and play. You actually have to have a style where you're constantly thinking on your feet and have to watch both your stamina bar, your FP bar, as well as what spells you're casting per each boss, which is cool. Overall, though, I think Magma Shot's going to be one of those ones that's going to be really versatile across like the entire game. And I think a lot of people are going to love that spell. I've seen a lot of people as Recluse running that spell and running Stars of Ruin as well for its tracking ability. Again, Night Comet, regular Comet, some of the ones that are a little bit more FP costly that don't do as much damage or have as much tracking as, say, Stars of Ruin, they're not really worth it in my opinion unless you're able to roll a lot of reduced FP costs, because most of the time you're going to be running through your FP really fast. Even as you regen it, you'll regen it just for the ability to cast one more spell, which sometimes isn't enough. There's the reduced FP consumption. You want to go for that every time. It's actually excellent for her. It's amazing for her. Let's jump into a Nightlord. And for this, we're going to be showing off Gladius in a 3-man crew. This was with randoms. They were pretty good, though, so no issues there. I know it could be kind of weird with randoms at times because you're going to get groups, of course, that aren't great, and then you're going to get groups that are okay, and then you're going to get groups that can carry the whole team as well. It's really a mixed bag with randoms. They really need to add communication to this game. If they did, I'd probably want to play it more, but unfortunately, it doesn't have comms, which is really weird. You can comment on that, too, how you feel about that. I feel like it's a weird design choice. Maybe they were worried about toxic players, I'm not sure, but I don't know. There's a mute button, so it's really not that big of a deal. Anyways, back to this. We're going to be using Stars of Ruin here for a lot of damage. We got to make sure that we regen FP, though, of course. Heal up here, and then we're going to be regenning some FP. Of course, we have a special effect because every once in a while we do. Usually, typically around the 4th one. And then if you're able to get in the ultimate as well, you'll get the debuff. Can be a little tricky, though, because it doesn't have a ton of range on the ultimate. Overall, though, Recluse is really powerful. She's a very powerful character when utilized properly, and she can dish out a ton of damage. You can see the amount you could stack up with Stars of Ruin there. It's like 1,000 something each time as you're charging it. I had Night Maiden's Mist, but of course the dog isn't going to stand in it. That does damage you if you do stand in it, so be aware of that. For Magma Shot, going back to that, hitting that does solid damage too if they stand in it. Once again, that's a better FP cost per damage. The dog is decently fire resistant though, so I wanted to try to use Stars of Ruin a lot. Make sure I charge it for that extra damage. I had a passive boost to charge sorceries, I believe, for this, so that's going to give us even more damage. I did not get the Godfrey icon as a drop though. And once again, we have an ally going down here. Now, it is tricky as her to get up allies. I haven't really figured out the best spell to pick up allies. You can use your ultimate to get them up. Stars of Ruin isn't typically bad. It does get them up here in this instance. But overall, there's really nothing absolutely amazing that I'm finding so far to get up your allies. Still believe Iron Eye is the easiest if you're not using an ultimate. Guardian's ultimate obviously is the easiest to get up allies. But if you're not using an ultimate, Iron Eye definitely can get up any teammate at any time. For Recluse, it's a little trickier, and obviously it's based off how much FP you have as well. There we regen again. We're going to use our ultimate for the debuff here. Now the boss will allow our teammates to regen FP and HP as well as myself. You can see the FP regen there. Her ultimate works really well with her abilities as a whole. Again, she's a really fun and powerful character to play as. She's really enjoyable to play as once you learn her, and once you do learn her, you have a lot of damage at your disposal too. Alright, so I want to say that this is probably my last character guide for a while, barring any updates or anything. Again, I did make a review for it because I just wanted to say some things about the game where I felt like this game was really fun at times, but the times it wasn't fun, it actually had a lot of times where it was boring too. The random matches are kind of meh for the most part. Solo mode is okay once you learn it. I'm sure it's going to be a lot more fun, but it does take some time. Overall, though, I did have some issues with the game in terms of like longevity. Be sure to comment your opinions below and let me know your favorite character in Elden Ring Nightreign because I'm curious and I haven't asked you guys yet. I will catch you guys in whatever next video I decide to post. Catch you then.